There are nights that don't announce themselves, nights that slip into the world quietly, like a whisper drifting through a half-open door. Barely noticeable, almost forgettable. The kind of night that could pass without earning a single line in anyone's memory. This was supposed to be one of those nights. A calm evening lit only by the glow of a phone screen, the smooth hum of scrolling thumbs, and the soft background noise of a world too busy to care. People were lounging on couches, curled under blankets, tucked into beds with their screens held inches from their faces, expecting nothing more than the usual chaos of trends and harmless gossip. But a single moment, barely 20 seconds long, turned that quiet night into the kind of digital earthquake that makes the entire internet freeze mid-scroll. No warning, no headline, no someone said rumor to soften the blow. Just a shadowy clip that hit the web without context, without explanation, and without mercy. Within minutes, you could almost feel the entire digital landscape tilt, as if every timeline and every algorithm felt the shock at the exact same moment. Group chats exploded like detonated grenades. Notifications surged. Millions of people suddenly leaned closer to their screens with the same stunned, breathless expression. No one knew exactly what they were seeing, but everyone sensed instantly that this was different. The room in the clip was dark, the angle strange, but the voice, faint yet distinct, was too familiar to ignore. And the laugh? It wasn't the laugh of an actor or a stranger. It sounded like a memory people didn't want to recognize. Something real, something close, something that made the entire internet's pulse spike. Tonight, we are breaking down that moment, because the leak didn't just stir up gossip, it cracked open something far larger, something that has grown into one of the most unnerving and chaotic digital conspiracies to ever swarm the public eye. What began with a blurry clip soon became a sprawling web of secrets, manipulation, and shadowy forces that seem to reach far beyond the world of rumor. And at the center of this storm is a cast of people who never expected their lives to be ripped open by someone hiding behind a screen. Welcome to the investigation. What made the leak so terrifying wasn't the content itself, but the absence of everything else. No watermark, no creator tag, no context. It arrived on the internet like a ghost, silent, impossible to trace, impossible to define. The clip opened in a dimly lit room, with no obvious features except a table, a chair, and a figure leaning just far enough away from the lens to stay unidentifiable. But the audio, muffled yet clear enough, sent alarms through the minds of those who thought they recognized it. There was an exchange, just a few seconds of speech that sounded too familiar to be ignored, followed by a low, casual laugh that struck people like a punch to the gut. It didn't take long for viewers to start piecing together clues, even if those clues were nothing more than shadows and coincidences. The internet thrives on speculation, and within hours, everyone had a theory. Some insisted the clip had been pulled from a private stash, a recording never meant to see the light of day. Others argued that it was staged, an elaborate hoax designed to mimic certain voices and silhouettes. A few believed it was part of a much bigger setup, something crafted with precision and leaked at the exact right moment to inflict maximum damage. And yet, despite the chaos, despite the frantic attempts to decode every pixel, one name rose louder than the rest, not because it was confirmed, not because it was stated, but because social media decided the shadow resembled someone who had already been connected to tension and rumor. That name was Tiny. Her name began trending before anyone could even understand why. People were dissecting old interviews, resurfacing past drama, comparing audio clips side by side, acting like self-appointed forensic detectives. And through it all, the only thing that remained certain was uncertainty itself. Nobody had proof, nobody had facts, nobody had answers. But the internet rarely waits for evidence when a mystery is this captivating. The strangest part of the entire ordeal wasn't the leak itself, but the absence of everything else. No watermark, no creator tag, no context. It arrived on the internet like a ghost, silent, impossible to trace, impossible to define. The clip opened in a dimly lit room, with no obvious features except a table, a chair, and a figure leaning just far enough away from the lens to stay unidentifiable. But the audio, muffled yet clear enough, sent alarms through the minds of those who thought they recognized it. There was an exchange, just a few seconds of speech that sounded too familiar to be ignored, followed by a low, casual laugh that struck people like a punch to the gut. It didn't take long for viewers to start piecing together clues. Even if those clues were nothing more than shadows and coincidences, the internet thrives on speculation. And within hours, everyone had a theory. Some insisted the clip had been pulled from a private stash, a recording never meant to see the light of day. Others argued that it was staged, an elaborate hoax designed to mimic certain voices and silhouettes. A few believed it was part of a much bigger setup, something crafted with precision and leaked at the exact right moment to inflict maximum damage. And yet, despite the chaos, despite the frantic attempts to decode every pixel, one name rose louder than the rest. Not because it was confirmed, not because it was stated, but because social media decided the shadow resembled someone who had already been connected to tension and rumor. That name was Tiny. Her name began trending before anyone could even understand why. People were dissecting old interviews, resurfacing past drama, comparing audio clips side by side, acting like self-appointed forensic detectives. And through it all, the only thing that remained certain was uncertainty itself. Nobody had proof, nobody had facts, nobody had answers. But the internet rarely waits for evidence when a mystery is this captivating.
Every hour she remained offline, the theories became more elaborate. Fans began examining her past captions, analyzing her follow list, and inventing conspiracies out of shapes in the shadows. Every unrelated post she made, even if it was months old, was suddenly reinterpreted as a message, a warning, a confession. People started believing she was involved not just in the leak, but in something far larger. It was as if the internet decided she was a key witness in a case without a crime, and her silence only intensified the obsession. But while the world was fixated on her, someone else felt the impact far more personally. For Todd Tucker, the leak didn't arrive as some vague, distant rumor circulating online. It hit him like a direct attack. He was already dealing with fallout from the Vegas footage, a separate incident that had blindsided him, shaken his confidence, and left him desperately searching for clarity. But while he was still processing that blow, the new clip dropped, and according to those close to him, his reaction was instant and devastating. Todd didn't shout. He didn't argue. He didn't deny. Instead, he shut down. People who were near him at that moment claim he went completely still, staring at the clip, with the kind of expression that only appears when someone's reality starts slipping away. This wasn't like the earlier footage, which could be dismissed as fake or manipulated. This one felt personal, too crisp, too intimate, too close. If even one detail in that clip was real, then the ground beneath him wasn't just unstable, it was collapsing. The internet had already labeled this moment the breaking point, but to Todd, it didn't feel like a dramatic title, it felt like truth. Because no matter how many theories swirled online, no matter how many people insisted the clip was doctored, Todd was left with a single, unbearable thought. What if the damage had already been done? As viewers continued to debate the leak, a new undercurrent began forming. A theory that suggested none of this was random. The timing of the leaks, the escalation, the emotional precision with which each clip seemed targeted, it all felt too orchestrated, too controlled, as if someone was pulling strings behind the scenes, arranging every piece of the puzzle so that each new leak would hit harder than the last. People began noticing patterns in the dates. They compared timestamps. They analyzed the quality of the video files and the uncanny synchronicity between online events and offline reactions. And gradually, a narrative began to form. Someone was manipulating the situation. Someone with technical skill, patience, and intentions far more calculated than simple drama. The question wasn't whether someone was behind it. It was who. And more importantly, why? While the internet continued piecing together theories, Todd, Candy, and their friend Miles were confronted with something far more terrifying than anything on social media. The digital chaos spilled into the physical world. It started subtly, a phone lighting up despite being powered off, strange messages appearing on screens that shouldn't have been active. Then the TV flickered to an image they had never filmed, never posed for, never lived. It showed Candy and T inside a neon chapel that didn't even exist. It was too detailed to be a glitch, too vivid to be a coincidence. Miles, who understood tech better than both of them, realized immediately that something was wrong. Very wrong. But what followed made everything previously frightening seem small. A cheap burner phone appeared under the rug, already unlocked, already open to a video file. The footage showed their house, filmed only minutes earlier. It showed the driveway, the windows, the front door, and then a hand reached out and touched the doorknob. The video ended with a warning. "We told you to stop." When they rushed into the backyard to escape, a red laser dot glided across the fence line, tracking them. A drone floated overhead, silent except for the mechanical hum of its camera locking on to their movements. And when they burst into the alley behind their home, a parked car blocked the path. The window lowered just enough to reveal a voice. Calm, cold, confident. "Stop running." Then a second sentence, heavier than the storm crashing around them. "This ends tonight." Terrified, soaked in rain, and aware that whoever was orchestrating this was both close and watching, the three of them ran into the darkness, knowing that the threat was no longer digital. It was physical. It was immediate. And it was far from over.
Now that the leaks, the threats, the surveillance, and the manipulation have all collided into a single terrifying story, one question remains. However, the prosecutor stepped forward, voice low, deliberate, each word slicing through the heavy silence like a knife. This is the alleged bedroom footage involving T.I. and Candy Burruss. The room went dead silent. Not a whisper, not a cough, just the kind of taut, sharp quiet that made it feel like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Todd's muscles locked, and his heart began hammering against his ribs, as if warning him that the moment of truth had arrived. He rose to his feet, shaking, a desperate plea ready to escape his lips, but the weight of reality anchored him to the spot. "Your Honor, please don't play that tape," he stammered, voice cracking in a way that exposed the depth of his fear. It was more than fear of legal consequence. It was fear of watching the private lives of the people he loved and the truth he had fought to protect being broadcast in a courtroom for the world to dissect and exploit. Candy, meanwhile, sat frozen, eyes wide, a trembling echo of resignation in her posture, as if bracing herself for the storm she could sense coming but had no control over. The judge nodded once toward the screen, quiet and unassuming, yet that nod sent an electric shiver through the entire room. The air thickened, every fluorescent light flickering imperceptibly, heightening the sense that something irreversible was about to happen. The atmosphere became almost tangible, a mix of fear, curiosity, and anticipation that gripped each person like a vice. Todd's chest heaved rapidly, his hand shaking on the edge of the table as he tried to ground himself in reality, but the room itself seemed to conspire against him. Every movement of the prosecutor, every subtle glance in the courtroom was magnified into an omen. Candy didn't breathe, didn't move, her wide eyes fixed somewhere beyond the crowd, watching herself suffer from a distance that felt both real and unreal.
She whispered a single word, almost inaudible, "No." But the sound was swallowed by the oppressive silence, leaving only the tremor in her hands to betray the intensity of her fear. The tech assistant, calm and mechanical in his movements, approached the computer where the USB would be inserted. Todd's plea erupted from him, uncontrolled and desperate. "Stop! Don't touch that! Just don't!" Two security officers shifted closer, prepared for any outburst. But Todd wasn't acting as a man defending a case. He was a man watching his entire world unravel in real time, and every instinct screamed at him to stop the inevitable destruction before it began. The judge's voice, usually calm and commanding, tried to assert order. "Mr. Tucker, please sit. This hearing requires transparency. If the evidence is part of the case, it must be reviewed." However, the words felt like nails on Todd's nervous system. Every whisper in the audience became amplified, everyone speculating, eyes darting, mouths opening in disbelief or horror. Rumors that had previously lived only in the shadows of social media now had a stage, and everyone in the room could feel the electric anticipation of history about to unfold. Candy finally blinked, her eyes glossy, lost in the surreal sensation of watching her own private life weaponized for public consumption. Her hand shook uncontrollably, a physical manifestation of the humiliation that hovered in the room like a living entity, targeting her dignity and privacy. Todd's breath hitched, his vision blurring as if reality itself were bending toward an inevitable confrontation. He took a step forward, desperate. "Your Honor, if you play that, you're not just destroying the case, you're destroying people who didn't ask to be dragged into this." The courtroom held its collective breath as the tech assistant prepared to access the USB. The thumbnail of the video was blurred, withheld, refusing to generate a preview, which sent a ripple of nervous energy through the audience. Phones in the crowd lifted discreetly, capturing the anticipation and dread in the room. Candy's voice, barely above a whisper, trembled as she spoke. "It's not real. It can't be real. It can't." Todd, with eyes wild and hands hovering near hers without touching, whispered, "Don't look at it. No matter what happens, don't look." The judge's tone sharpened, authority cutting through the fear in the room. "Mr. Tucker, if you continue to interrupt, I will have you removed and the tape will be played without you present." Todd closed his eyes, body trembling, caught between protecting Candy and complying with authority, whispering, "I'm sorry, I'll stop, just don't hurt her with this, please."
When the cursor hovered over the file and clicked, the faintest sound, a tiny click, echoed like a gunshot in Todd's mind. The loading bar appeared on the screen. Every heart in the room seemed to stop. Todd's knees buckled, and Candy's breath stuttered, her fingers gripping the edge of the desk like lifelines. Phones tilted upward, capturing the moment for viewers who didn't yet understand the full weight of what was about to be unleashed. The screen flickered, and before the image could fully load, a jarring new message appeared in bold white letters. "Play it, and you'll regret it." The courtroom went silent, a blanket of tension pressing down on everyone. Todd's eyes widened. Candy gripped the edge of the table, knuckles whitening as fear radiated outward from the two of them. The judge leaned forward, stunned, the authority he wielded suddenly appearing fragile. Someone in the room, someone connected to that USB, was controlling the situation, and the reality of it was terrifying. The words didn't look like an error, a glitch, or a simple malfunction. They were a deliberate threat, aimed at Todd, at Candy, and at the courtroom itself. Static danced across the screen, a broken, erratic pulse that mirrored the room's escalating panic. A distorted voice echoed from the speakers, warped and unnerving. "Truth always comes out." Candy's hand flew to her chest as Todd stepped in front of her protectively. The video frame remained static, blurred, unrecognizable. Shadows moved in the footage, but no one could clearly discern what they were seeing. Phones lifted upward, capturing the moment for viewers who didn't yet understand the full weight of what was about to be unleashed. Then a sharp cracking sound echoed. Not from the speakers, but the back door. Security rushed toward the source, head swiveling, eyes scanning the room. The judge, quivering with authority under siege, barked orders, "Shut off the screen, now." But the distorted voice cut him off once again. "You think you can hide what you did." Todd realized the truth. This was no longer just a courtroom issue. Someone had complete control over the video, the technology, and the environment. When the screen flashed again, a blurry silhouette appeared, sitting on the edge of a bed, the camera slowly panning. Todd lunged forward. "No, stop it! Stop it!" Two officers restrained him, not out of anger, but sheer panic. Candy's voice cracked as she tried to calm him. "Todd, please." Then the video froze. Another message appeared on the screen. "If you want the full tape, follow the instructions." Candy lowered her head, shaking uncontrollably. Todd leaned close. They're not just leaking things, they're controlling the narrative. Todd's phone buzzed violently in his pocket. One notification, no name, no number, a video file. 43 seconds. Same timestamp, same nightmare. "They sent it to my phone," Todd whispered, white-faced. Candy's hands shook violently. "Todd, don't open it." He held it anyway, chest rising and falling sharply, the courtroom behind them fading into a blur as the horror followed them into the private hallway. Security escorted them, but panic followed them like a shadow. Another message appeared. "If you don't watch it, she will." The footage was recent, taken minutes ago, showing their own home. "They're outside our house," Candy whispered, knees buckling. Todd's mind raced. Miles, their tech consultant, whispered, "They've been watching longer than you think." Every step felt like walking deeper into a trap. A third message arrived, audio this time. 3 seconds. A distorted voice, "You can't stop the truth." Todd couldn't answer. The weight of the unknown pressed down harder than anything he had ever faced. What happens next? Because whatever this is, it's bigger than a leaked clip. Bigger than a rumor, bigger than the Vegas scandal. Someone is pulling the strings, and based on the precision of the attacks, they're not even close to finished. Tiny's alleged connection to the tape didn't expose a simple moment. It cracked open the entire foundation. It linked events people thought were separate. It tied Todd, Candy, T, and Vegas together in a way that felt planned, calculated, engineered. And with every new leak, every unexplained message, every shadow caught on camera, the web tightens. This is only the beginning. Now, it's your turn. What do you think Tiny's true role is in this fictionalized narrative? Was she trying to reveal something or weaponize it? Do you think Todd and Candy can repair the trust that's been shattered? And the biggest question of all, who do you believe is behind the digital manipulation, the leaks, and the escalating threats? Drop your theory in the comments. Your pattern recognition might uncover something no one else has noticed. If this deep dive pulled you in, hit like so the algorithm knows you want the next chapter. Share this video with someone who's been glued to every twist in the saga. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on all notifications, because the next leak, it's already on its way, and the truth that's about to surface will change everything you think you know.